Good evening. Dipankar Khasnabish here. Welcome you to yet another session on COVID Cares, initiative from Heartcrafted Foundation. This foundation work with women from underprivileged parts of the society. We essentially help women to improve their livelihood through focused intervention with a goal of increasing their income over a period of time. This series is an attempt to hear some of the stories from ordinary people who have done extraordinary work during the COVID times. We all know the country came to a standstill towards the end of March when the COVID became a real scare and national lockdown was declared. All of us got very worried with our health, with the well-being of our near or dear ones, with the supplies, when the next meal will be coming, how it will be coming, and stuff like that. But the privileged like us were largely blind to the challenges which face the underprivileged. And very soon we came to know that there is a large segment of the society who are struggling for cash, income, meal, healthcare, shelter. The issue became very visible for the urban poor. We saw that lakhs, maybe few million of the migrants who started walking towards their home, which at times was hundreds of kilometers away. There are equal number, if not more, who got stuck at their homes with the same situation. And good thing about all this is there are a large number of Indians who came out from their life, which is very secure, which is very safe, and started helping them in whichever way they can. We know stories of people giving food, setting up community kitchens, trying to give healthcare, taking care of people in serious distress. But all this, more or less, are again stories of the urban India and stories where urban poor was affected. But we know that urbanization in India is around 30-35%. So large majority of Indians are still in rural India, and many of them are actually very poor. So what happened to them? We don't get to hear much about their stories. Today we'll be hearing one such story from a friend of mine, Rahul Banerjee. Rahul had been working with the underprivileged for almost 3 decades now. I'll just give a small profile of Rahul, but let me tell you, Rahul's profile will be always be very insufficient to capture in a paragraph or two. Rahul is a social activist and development researcher. He works along with the Bhil Adivasis and Dalits to synthesize their traditional qualities with modern skill and contribute to socio-economically equitable and environmentally sustainable communitarian development as architects of their future. Through the organizations Khedut Mazdoor Chetna Sangat, a trade union, Dhas Gramin Vikas Kendra, a public trust, and Mahila Jagat Lihaz Samiti, a registered body, Rahul has been working with others in participation and promotion and prevention of knowledge, livelihood and culture of Bhils and the Dalits, and countered their internal patriarchy over a period of 3 decades using mass mobilization, policy advocacy, media advocacy, research, project implementation, and legal action. He has written and published extensively in journals and books about its work and research. Rahul has studied at La Martine in Calcutta, IIT Kharagpur, and did his PhD from Center for Environmental Planning and Technology, CEPT. He stays in Bhopal, MP. Incidentally, his wife is also a very strong activist in the same space and had been his partner for the same period of time. So Rahul, back to you. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
So Rahul, as I said that, we know a lot about, now we know a lot about the urban poor challenges. Um, Thanks to, a lot of media coverage, and many people got involved. It was geographically quite possible for many people to get involved in their locality. But we don't know really much about what happened in rural India, where, these all these, uh, you know, maybe the work affected, supply chain breaking down, supplies not coming in. So, you are very close to them. So I'd like to hear first what happened when this COVID broke out. What did you see? What are the new challenges you saw?
See, actually, we at Mahila Jagat Vihas Samiti, Majlis for short, have been saying that due to the way in which the human race is, devastating the ecosystems, there's bound to be a backlash from nature. It's going to come. And so we have been working in rural areas for the past 2-3 decades to try and counter that, to try and restore the ecological balance. Of course, we are a very small organization, but we do it in a very small way. So this COVID thing, is expected. It's a kind of trailer of what nature is going to do to humanity if it doesn't change its ways. If it doesn't change its ways for the better, then this is just the trailer. COVID is one, then something else will come and it will continuously come. And the tragedy is that those people who are the least responsible for this ecological devastation, they are the ones who suffer the most. So the poor people that you mentioned in rural areas, their lifestyle is such that it's not very harmful to the environment. Of course, because of the larger system, they are also harming the environment, but they are comparatively less harmful of the environment and the ecology than we in urban areas are. But the backlash that comes, whether it is COVID, whether it's floods, it's drought, it comes against them. So as you said, what happened in rural areas, see, March is the month in which the Rabi harvest, Rabi crop is harvested. It's the wheat mainly, but along with it, there is gram, there is some oil seeds and all these things that are harvested. And it comes to the market just from around the 3rd week of March. And that was the time when the lockdown happened. So all these farmers, whether it's a rich farmer or it's a poor farmer, whether he's producing vegetables or he's producing fruits or whether he's just producing some wheat, they're all stuck because it's all a debt-ridden economy. Everybody knows that the rural agricultural economy is debt-ridden economy. So everybody takes debt and then the farmers, whatever they produce. I mean, they can be high-end producers like grapes and things, or they can be low-end people who are just producing wheat. But all of them are in debt at that time, and they have to sell their produce to be able to, pay back that debt and earn some money. So they were stuck. That debt is there. That debt is mounting, and they can't sell anything. So it's a very, very severe situation, and it was there in our areas also. But that is where we came into the picture. Is that every year from March to June, this is the time when we do our ecological rehabilitation work. So whether it's soil and water conservation or it's forest conservation or some sustainable agriculture work from our organization that goes on throughout the year. But the ecological restoration work, because this is the time that people are free, the fields are free. So our ecological restoration work, soil, water conservation and forest conservation work goes on from March to June. That is the time when it goes on. So normally what happens is the whole community gets together and does the work. But because it was a national lockdown, that community thing couldn't be done. So what we did was that we just told, now the one thing is there that the internet was working and the mobile networks were working. So what I could do was that on Google Earth, each family with whom we work, I just WhatsApp through WhatsApp, I sent them a Google Earth map of their farm, saying that, you know, this is your farm and this is the work that I want done on that farm. And then I can measure also on Google Earth, you know, that this is this amount of, say if it's a bund, stone bund has to be made, I can measure on Google Earth the distance and all that and amount of work that is there. So I just tell them that you so many meters on this particular part of your farm, and they can also see it on that Google Earth WhatsApp that I give them. I mark it on them. So that is how, so that whole 3 months from March to June, when people had no work, they didn't have cash and anything. So from our organization, of course, we are a small organization, but that is one thing that we did was that we provided them with that work. And it's not just relief, you know, because it's ecological restoration work. So it helps them in the long term also, because it improves their livelihoods. And so this whole problem of rural migration that is there, that you mentioned, that 65% of the population is in rural areas, but the GDP is only 16%. So obviously there will be migration because there's not enough livelihood out there. So we try to tackle both. That on the one hand, we are trying to restore the ecology which has been devastated. And on the other hand, we are creating livelihoods so that people don't have to migrate. So that is how, our whole program that was there, in fact, it should have been the government which was doing it through Manrega and all that, you know, MGNREGS and all that. But obviously the government had just, it wasn't doing anything. It just sat, Manrega and all started much later. So in our area, we were the only ones who are providing work to these people. And luckily, because this is we have this electronic payment system. So at that time, I was in Indore, and my wife Subhadra, she was in the center. This is the, now I am in the center. I am speaking to you from the center in the village. Subhadra was here, so Subhadra would, you know, coordinate with everybody that, you know, what is the work being done on their farms and all that. And then she would send that, yes, the work has been done, so you make a payment. So then I used to transfer to their account. The money I would transfer to their account, and then they would take it out. That was, they could take out from their account. I mean, that was running ATMs and not ATMs, but these computer service, there these rural, some computer service center like thing is there. So all these are basically banking correspondents. So they can give out 500,000 rupees or whatever, a little bit. Every village has this kind of things is there. So by using the internet, mobile connectivity, then WhatsApp, and then the banking system, this banking correspondent system and mobile transfer, this money transfers and all that. So in our area, we could, you know, sustain certain amount of families through the lockdown in this process. I can't hear you. You're muted.
You're right. You're right. No, for better audio, I muted myself from your side. But anyway, so my question, thank you. So my question is that, you know, you said that you shared Google maps for people to know their what they should do. So this is not individual ownership, or they don't know what is their land. Is it a community land you are talking about?
How to convey to them that which part of the land they have to, you know, do the bunding work.
Okay.
You know, so I can't go there physically. I'm in Indore.
Right.
So I go to Google Earth. I know all their map Earth locations. You know, I have those locations with me because we have been working with them. So it's all their records with me. So I just go to that guy and then send him that map, and from that he can recognize that what part of the land he has to, you know, work on. That is
okay. So you know, so you are what you're saying is that there are some amount of cash flow which you know, you could give them. But what about the, you know, in spite of that also there was some crunch of you know, material movement and all that. So what are the other challenges and how did you manage? Could you did they have enough food in store and all to eat
Yes,
and all?
food, because we are the people we work with, they are all farmers, so
Okay.
food was not a problem. They have already got their, harvests in. The problem was cash,
Okay.
so that is what we provided. The cash,
Okay.
it's a different from urban areas where
Yeah.
they don't have food also. So
Right.
that's
Urban was extreme. No food, no,
yeah,
and also cut off from their home whatever the
yeah.
wherever they're coming from. So though no social network also, right? You are individual with no money and no food. Now tell me now. So over a period of time, this is one part is the cash part. The other part is that you also have to sell whatever you are producing. As you said, you are harvesting. So what happened? Because if you don't sell it, there are some implications, right? I mean, it may go bad or
Yeah,
stuff
but
like that.
that nothing could be done, no, because of this disastrous decision to go in for a national lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
It was a disastrous decision because areas varied, so instead of, we could have gone for a partial, those areas like Mumbai city and all that, or Dharavi slums, which are, seriously affected, they could be locked down. But there was no point in locking down this place. No, this place was locked down and the farmers couldn't sell. So only after 1 month or 1.5 months or something like that, when the mandis opened, then the farmers could sell. So that was a serious problem throughout India. So many people, so many farmers lost their produce. So I mean the wheat and all you can store, but what about vegetables and fruits and things like that? Those
Right,
people,
perishable,
they
yeah.
just went, they lost like anything. Yeah.
Absolutely. So obviously there will be, if I may understand that, at least the people who are doing this wheat, rice, pulses, which can be stored, but then there may be a market, they may not get the right price, and there are other who have lost their produce anyway. So they will definitely face a income problem through the year, right? So are you thinking anything on those lines as to how to help them and for a loss of
No,
income? Because
actually, as I told you, our concentration is more on long-term kind of things. So,
Mhm,
our sustainable agriculture program that is there, in which that we try to, get farmers to do organic agriculture. Now, the
mhm,
problem is that the mega problem, the mega level problem is that macro problem is that the governments and corporations, they are going for this chemical agriculture, and that is subsidized. The government subsidizes that. So when this kind of a situation is there, then to tell a farmer to do organic farming, that is not possible because he will go for a loss, So that farmer has to be subsidized to do organic. So that is what we do. So we provide a subsidy to the farmer to do organic farming, and then
mhm,
we buy his produce and then sell it outside to people who
mhm,
can buy organic food at a premium, and that
mhm.
is how we are trying to spread organic farming, sustainable agriculture in our area. So that is our program. As I said, see, COVID is a certain thing that comes in, that is that has come because of the larger unsustainability of development practices. So we have to so we just because COVID has come, we don't go in and say that COVID has come, we have to we have stuck to our plan that we have to make the whole system sustainable, and we are working on that. If the during and within that only we helped in COVID, within that plan only, whatever work we did, that provided relief to those people. And now also after that, whatever, see, the number of farmers that we work with, some of these farmers, so we have a program in which as I told you, that we provide subsidy to do this agriculture, organic agriculture, and then we keep records of that agriculture, and those farmers, they are doing chemical also. So we just provide them with 1 acre. A farmer might have, say, 3-4 acres. So we tell him that, look, in 1 acre, do organic farming, and we will provide the subsidy so that you don't lose out. So and then control the chemical agriculture. So we keep records of both what is happening, and then the produce that we get from them, that we sell in the market, and then we try and see whether it's making up or not. Of course, it's not making up. So there is some subsidy at the larger level. We do some crowdfunding to get funds because the whole system, like solar energy, also you have to provide subsidy to get somebody to install solar energy. So similarly with sustainable agriculture also, it is the same thing, because the government is not doing enough to provide that subsidy.
So during this time, one is, of course, by the way, I am hearing some sound behind you. Is it the cow and buffalo who are making sound, or some sort of, you have some livestock in the?
This is cricket. Some insects are making sound.
Oh, okay.
The sounds that you are getting, insects, there are some insects that are very loud. So it's those insects that are giving the sound.
Okay, I thought you have livestock in your farm.
No. We are not, actually it's a very small farm, so we don't have any livestock.
Okay. So during this time, did you also try, given that the market was not accessible and mandi closed and all that, but there is this demand obviously because people had to eat. So did you try any connection of this produce with the city, especially Indore? So, taking directly.
No, the problem is that Indore was totally locked down, Okay. So the thing is that, and it's all controlled by the government, and then you have to get e-passes and things like that. Right. So generally, you see, we don't interact with the government much. That is the way we work, because interaction with the government has huge transaction costs, so which we don't want to pay. So that is why even in COVID, this has happened. That COVID, the government is government. So they extract a transaction cost from people who want to do something, which on principle we are not prepared to pay. That is why we just didn't go there. Urban areas. So we didn't do any work in urban areas. In fact, we have some work during the reproductive health work with women and all that in urban areas. We have contacts, but the problem is that Indore is under total lockdown. So you have to get e-passes and this and that and all that problem. You have to and it's very difficult to get. I mean, the government anyway was cracking down that not many movement should take place. So we said that forget it. We didn't do anything in urban areas. But we did something was that I'm associated with various trade unions of unorganized labor in urban areas, not only in Indore, but in other areas like Ahmedabad and Rajasthan in some places and all that. So what happened was in Ahmedabad, this unorganized trade union, that is unorganized workers trade union that I'm associated with, some of those workers are from Jharkhand. So from Ahmedabad, when they got desperate, Ahmedabad or Baroda, they started walking or whatever. Some means they just started on their own to go back to Jharkhand. And then halfway they were stranded. When they reached inside MP somewhere, they were stranded. So I used to get phone calls from the union people in Gujarat, Baroda or Ahmedabad, saying that so-and-so is stranded somewhere. So then I used to transfer money to those people, So that's the only work that we did. That whoever, so they used to say that fellow strand. I said that okay, tell him to send me his account details on WhatsApp. So that fellow used to send his account details on WhatsApp, and then I used to transfer 1,000, 2,000 like that. We helped a tremendous number of people like that. That was one thing.
Probably went to the ATM and withdrew the money or something like that.
Yeah, they're going with their card. So I told them that, okay, how much do you need? So somebody said, I need around 2,000. So I just transferred 2,000 to his account, and then he got from his ATM and he went on his way. So that was a pretty effective way in which all these people who were stranded in between were helped out by us from our organization.
Did you face any emergency in your farm, especially the people who are working, the farmers, any? Because we also heard about some health emergency. Some people, people may be carrying and they have to deliver. Nothing of that sort happened.
No, nothing. Here it was fine. I mean, here there was no problem. In our area, at least, there was no problem. And in fact, people were enjoying themselves in the sense that, for instance, see, all these markets were closed. So there was the meat actually was not available. So people used to get together and then decide on phone. They would decide that okay, somebody kills a goat and then they skin it and everything and we prepare meat and then everybody buys and all that. So informal kind of thing. So they really
Okay.
they took
Any particular incident or anything which you want to recollect, which see, COVID also brought up a lot of goodness. At least I can tell you from the you are talking more of the rural India, which probably much more in a way integrated, because clearly people are underprivileged and much more connected, but in the urban area we are very disconnected, right, from each other. But a lot of people came together, beautiful stories of humanity, dignity and all that. So anything which you saw which particularly surprised you
Yes,
during
yes.
this time?
In Indore also, actually, there's this national highway that passes through Indore. It's on the outskirts of Indore now. So from Mumbai to UP, if you are going from Mumbai to Bihar or something, so there's this tremendous rush of people. Either they are walking or on some kind of vehicle or whatever they are going, and they are in so that like it happened in Bangalore and Hyderabad also. So here also there was this huge thing that all these people, so they got together, and so that when they came to Indore, they were given chappals, food, money, everything. So and they said that Indore they got a very good support. That nowhere else, like they are coming from Mumbai. So on the way in Maharashtra they got no help. They said so. In Maharashtra they got no help. But the moment they came into MP, so once they came into MP, the first thing is Sendwa. So they got a lot of help in Sendwa. And then Sendwa. There is once you cross from Maharashtra into Madhya Pradesh, the first town is Sendwa. So they got some help there. Sendwa is a small town, but Indore is a very big town. So Indore, they said that yes, we don't have to worry about the rest of the journey because we have been well provisioned from Indore, and then there's to go ahead. So that is there. That lot of people, what you said, that lot of people from Indore, they went there and they helped these people. This migrant train that was going, migrant people. Yeah. So that was good. That was really very good thing that happened.
So I think Indore is constantly becoming the cleanest city. So maybe some people's mind also have got cleaned up with clean environment. Who knows? There may be an impact if you are in a very clean environment. Indore is a beautiful city anyway.
Yeah, in general, yeah, actually the Indore, the COVID situation was also handled pretty well. So even comparatively, Indore is better among the big cities. Indore is almost 3 million. So the amount of number of COVID cases is low. So it was well handled. See, because the provisioning and all that, like we were locked in, so we were not even allowed to go out. So all the markets were closed. So you had this online system. You could order to the municipal corporation, and then the municipal corporation had subcontracted the thing out to grocers. So they would come and deliver at your home. So this thing was there. So it was well managed.
You could order to municipal.
So the poor people and they gave Indore was pretty good at provisioning for the poor people also. People like us, of course, we paid for whatever we ordered. But there were others who can't pay. So what you were mentioning, that people don't have food, don't have money. So even they were provisioned comparatively. I mean, not ideally what they should have got, they didn't get, but definitely it was well managed. I mean, the Indore, the machinery that has done this clean city business. So I mean, that has fucked up the whole machinery. So COVID also comparatively, it was better handled than other places.
Yeah. So I'm sure, that is one good thing that, if you have a If you have a well-oiled machinery where you are working with a goal in mind, and obviously the people are also much more motivated because they feel a sense of pride. Maybe they are also much better equipped to handle a crisis than other places where things are already bad and it only become worse. So Rahul, good to hear from you. Thanks so much, for your time, and good to see you in your farmhouse. I mean, this COVID is giving us a lot of opportunity to meet and see people online, which otherwise is not possible. Maybe daytime I will call you sometime to get to see your farmhouse. You can take us through a journey. I will stop the recording now, but hang on. We'll speak.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Catch you up soon when things become a little more stable.